One of my favorite parts of what I do is connecting with people such as Dustin, who is an amazing young friend who asked me to make a fun fall sunflower wreath for his mother. And I'm going to show you how I made this. This one is for you, Dustin. Okay, so for this sunflower, I'm using wide stripe mesh, and you can see there's just lines going one way. There's like definite stripes there, okay? I really like this mesh. I just started using it. I like this as an alternative to the poly burlap, okay? But this was cut at 10 inches, okay? Just slightly over 10 inches because guess what? This is actually just slightly over 10 inches. So I wanted to make it as much of a square as I possibly could. Okay. Now, because of these stripes, I need to pay attention to which direction these stripes are going. I want them all to be the same on all the leaves. Okay. So when I first started, I decided I like it a certain way. So what I'm doing is I have the finished edge on the top left and the bottom right. It's roll side up, diamond shape. I'm going to bring this corner down to the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to take this corner, bring it over to the other. So we have this diamond shape. And this is I wanted the stripes to go straight up and down. That's why I chose it to be like this. Okay, if you wanted your stripes to go the other way, start out with the finished edge on your top right. I like having the stripes going straight up and down. Okay. Now, I'm bringing it sideways just because it's easier for me. But right here in the center, I'm going to put my finger underneath all 4 pieces of mesh and just give it a pinch. Okay. Right there in the center. And you can even see because of that stripe where that center is. And I know this isn't perfect over here. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now I'm going to do 1 pinch from that side to this side, like another scrunch. And then from this side, another scrunch. Okay. So it's kind of like the Star Trek, but because of it's a scrunch on either side, it makes this a little bit wider. And I kind of like having that wider look to it. So I'm going to take a 6-inch zip tie. And right where that center scrunch is, okay, where I pinched that one, I'm going to go just below that, and that should make it be 5 inches long. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure like everything is kind of even. If I need to pull on one side or pull up here, whatever you need to do to make sure this is good and even. Make it shaped the way you're happy with, and then tighten it down. Okay? So from here, just cut off the excess zip tie and the excess mesh on the very bottom. I like to keep it pretty short, just so it doesn't get in the way of anything. So, okay. So that is how I'm going to make all of my leaves. I'm going to make 8 of these. Same thing, I have the wide stripe mesh, cut it 10 by 10 piece, And I did use a rotary cutter for these because we're really not going to see any edge lines. Now, simply because I wasn't paying any attention, I started making this with the finished edge on the top right. I like to have my stripes all going facing the same way. So you can see that I have the stripes facing one certain way. I want to keep it that way. So top right. Again, if you did it another way, just make sure every single one is consistent. Otherwise, you might notice the difference of the way the stripes are going. Okay, so there we are. Fold side up or curl side up. Bring one corner down to the other. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to kind of stretch it right there in the middle. Bring this down. And then I'm going to bring this side down right next to it. If it overlaps a little bit, it probably will overlap a little, but I'm just going to try to make sure they're at least side by side. Now, I'm going to bring this over to the side. Now you can see where these are just about an inch below where that first corner was. Okay? So I'm going to count 2 inches and then go about a half an inch further. So we're going to go about 2.5 inches up and just kind of scrunch these together. I'm only going to use a 4-inch zip tie for this. Okay, and pull that tight. Now, if you like having that curved top, leave it. I want mine to be pointed. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of work at that, get it so it's pointed the way I like it, and just so I can kind of train it to stay this way for, listen, you only need that on there for 5 minutes maybe. Okay, and from here I want to bring that zip tie nub over to the side, and then I'm going to cut that off, and I'm going to cut this edge off too, that excess mesh, because I am not going to, if you want to have this be in the front, you totally can. I want this to be my front, and I want to make sure I have like this nice curve or whatever. That pinch is kind of there in the middle there. Okay, I'll take this off. See, it's only been 30 seconds and it stayed like a nice tip there. Okay, now that's all you need to do. If you start seeing some frays or anything like that, just cut them off. That's going to be down inside the wreath, so it really won't show. It should be fine, but that's all you're going to do with these. I'm going to make 16 of these. So I'm using a Unique in the Creek small wreath board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my zip ties in just the outer ring. I want to show you where these are going first. Because I'm only using 8 of the leaves, and there's 16 holes for your petals, okay? What I'm going to do is where there's this single hole on the second row, just up from there, I'm going to be putting my zip ties. like that. Okay. I'm going to skip these holes, and then I'm going to put another zip tie here. But I'm actually going to do it from the back. It's so much easier just to kind of place that in from the back. Skip this. Put that in. Okay. And then I'm just going to zip tie these up, get them started. Now I'm just going to place my leaves right in there. Okay, so if you need to adjust, go ahead and do that. But these are looking pretty good. Okay, so from here, I am going to go ahead and load my zip ties up for the next row. And I'm just going to put it in the holes that are close next to each other. And we're just going to do 8 around there. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to be using these again. When there's any frays or anything, just cut them off. Place them in. Now, the reason I had us put those nubs of those zip ties over to the side is if we had them still right here, they would kind of get in the way with the board. So I just kind of push them over to the side. But I like to have those zip ties, those nubs there, it just helps to make sure that you can't pull the petal out from under this zip tie. Okay, so here we are. We got this much done. I'm really liking it. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the next row down. I'm going to load up my zip ties and just put them right in these holes right here. No shared holes. Okay, so you can kind of see how they're overlapping just a little bit. When that happens, okay, see how that one's behind? I'm going to put this one in front, have both sides in front of the next one's over. Okay, so I'll put this one up front, this one behind. Okay, it just has a little bit more of dimension. It almost looks like there is another row there without there being another row. Okay, so I'm just going to cut off any frays that I see here. Not that they're really going to show, but I'm just going to cut them out just to make sure they're out of the way. And then we're going to work on our inner row. Okay, and I will be right back. This last row before I put in the center, I decided to have fun with this. So this is what I'm going to do. Again, we're going to do that same kind of Star Trek petal that we did for the leaves. I'm going to have the finished edge on the bottom right, top left. Bring it down and flip it over. And then I'm going to use a clothespin and just keep that shut, set it aside. Then I'm going to take some burgundy and I'm going to do the same thing with that finished edge, bottom right, top left. The exact same thing, take it over. Okay? So I'm going to place the burgundy on top of the yellow, and I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the yellow to the edge of the burgundy on both sides of that triangle. Okay? And then yes, take away that clip. So again, I'm going to put this to the side just to make it easier for me. I'm going to put my finger underneath and I'm going to make sure I get underneath both the burgundy and the yellow and make that little pinch. Okay? Making sure I get all of that mesh. Then I'm just going to bring these sides up. And I'm going to make sure they're up just a little bit from that burgundy. Not much. Then I'm taking an 8-inch zip tie. I'm going to start. Okay. Then I want to make sure I am about 5 inches, because that's what I've been making all of my other petals. Okay. Now, if it seems like it might be too puffy on one side, just pull on the bottom here. Same thing with the burgundy, just pull on it just to adjust it to make sure you have it the way you're happy before you actually tighten the zip tie, which I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up and just make sure I'm happy with it as I'm tightening it. I don't want to get it too tight until I know I'm happy, which I'm good. So it's good and tight, and that's what I'm going to use for my innermost petal, and I think this is going to be fun. I'm going to preload this innermost ring here, and I'm going to go from the back just like I did before. I'm using 8-inch zip ties though. I'm going to put it in these holes as well as the shared holes. I'm going to go all the way through so we have 8 all together. It might be a little tough to fit these in sometimes, but I promise you they fit. Now this just like a bunch of strings like sticking out of here, but you can pretty much find the one you're supposed to be matched up with and just close them up. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting these in, and let's see how they look. So if you feel the need to adjust the petals once you get them in there, go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have my sunflower center, and if you look at the back, Okay, we have this, I could just pull that off. Okay. Now you can see that this is actually supposed to go into like a stem or something like that. Listen, you just kind of fool around with it, kind of pull on it, and you'll eventually get it off. I think I'll just take a piece of scissors. Okay, yeah, a little piece of styrofoam came off with it. It'll be fine. We're not going to panic. Okay, so I have that center. I also have these greening pins. They're 2 inches long, but what I did, I just used my wire cutters and cut them down to between like an inch, maybe an inch and a half. Okay, then I have this it's a 22 gauge just piece of wire, that floral wire. What I'm going to do, we really don't need something this long. I'm just going to cut it in half. Okay, that way we can have another half to use in the future. Okay, so I'm going to take this, fold this in half, and then make it just about, I don't know, about an inch wide. And then I'm going to take each piece, each of these greening pins that I cut down, and shove that down in there at an angle. It's going to go angled this way and then angled outward this way. Okay, so that's on there pretty good, but I want to double secure it. So I'm going to take this white piece of felt that's a little bit wider than I wanted. I'll just kind of cut that, and I'm just going to glue it, hot glue that on here. That'll just kind of help glue each of those greening pins on there and that wire. Kind of get that on there, and then just kind of secure each side, and there you go. And that should fit down into the wreath perfectly fine. Okay, we want to just add our sunflower center on. Okay, we went ahead and put that felt on there. Okay, and all we're going to do is just go ahead and put that in there. Find the pre-made holes and make sure you get that wire to go down through there. So this is our finished sunflower. I was going to just leave this inner row. I was just going to leave it regular yellow, but I think this burgundy just really made it a lot more fun, right? So I'm so happy with that. And working with the wide stripe mesh, I really like it. It's not quite as soft as the poly burlap, but for half the price, I think it's definitely worth checking into, and it works really, really well. So something that you might want to consider in your next flower wreath. But anyhow, I wanted to thank you, Dustin. I really appreciate the fact that you trust me with this special gift for your mother, and I hope she loves it. So thank you all for watching. My name is Patty Davis, and I'm with Crooked Tree Creations, and I'll see you in our next video.